I was your name, Mammy Mokwaba, Namina was Embra channel so a solid TV. Over so an old modern was subscribe like and was saying any offer from we treat any bench here at na enra and na yura Kennedy a compre kwa Agyapong. And yura Dr. Frank Amoakohene Ashanti regional minister. One question na it was very interesting. When him say Kennedy a compre kwa Agyapong, NPP. Dr. Frank Amoakohene NDC na announcement bi akoso a ebusua it is fanta bruta ehu Dr. Frank Amoakohene ena dwumade na se wo mama na kasem no wakasa no wo to shout out and wo to shout out no ma yewra Kennedy akompre ko Agyapong wo ma no shout out no wakase wonim se yewra Kennedy akompre ko Agyapong is the incoming flag bearer of the new patriotic party. The new patriotic party. Dr. Frank Amoakohene of NDC, our Ashanti regional minister, and a worker Kennedy Akompre ko Agyapong from NPP. So one of the one him say, Naki, Kennedy Akompre ko Agyapong, a incoming flag bearer at the new patriotic party. Lebusia, some me kaya one. Oh, I do win sim. Me too mre na machire see sense high solid TV. Information enye solid a yemfem ma wo na wonim tie bibra tie papa na nkase nanu asem na bra.
The flag bearer of the new patriotic party, Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, former leaders present here. I bring you greetings from the garden city of West Africa, Ashanti region for that matter.
Media, take it away. Can we have his profile?
Is a Ghanaian medical doctor, academic, and public servant currently serving as the Ashanti Regional Minister. He brings a unique blend of expertise in healthcare, leadership, and governance to his role. He holds a BSc in Medical Laboratory Sciences and an MBc-HB from the University of Ghana, a Doctor of Medical Laboratory Sciences from the University of Development Studies, and an MBA from Accra Business School. Dr. Amakuhin has held several leadership positions, including Ashanti Regional Secretary of the National Democratic Congress and parliamentary candidate for Mampong in 2020. His appointment as the regional minister in 2025 reflects his commitment to regional development, healthcare advancement, and youth empowerment.
Thank you very much, Nana Chairman, the flag bearer of the new patriotic party, Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, former leaders present here. I bring you greetings from the garden city of West Africa, Ashanti region for that matter. And I want to commend the leaders of WUDEC Africa for putting this together. As a former student leader and youth leader, I know what it takes and what goes into planning of these kind of events. So we don't take it lightly. And the students gathered here, I also want to encourage you that there's a forum for us all to learn from each other, to be able to become good leaders for our motherland and also for Africa at large. Having said that, as a young minister for this administration, I should tell you that I have been through a lot of areas in a very younger stage. And as a young leader, you will definitely face what I call the young leaders tag. The young leaders tag is the doubt that comes to mind when, as a younger person, you strive to lead, especially in difficult areas. I remember clearly when I was in level 600, final year medical school. Whilst preparing for my final year medical exam, I was equally running for Member of Parliament for Mampong constituency. So you can understand how crazy it was having to combine at that level. Equally, when I was running for Regional Secretary for my party, NDC in 2022, I was the youngest to ever attempt such a position. So you could equally understand the doubts that will come in the minds of a lot. After 2024 election, little did I know that every single step you take as a young leader, you may not know who would be watching. And clearly, His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama was watching, for which reason I've had the opportunity to serve as regional minister and the youngest, for that matter, in this administration. I want to say this to encourage you, that if I've been able to navigate all these complexities, then you can, and you will be able to even do beyond what I've been able to do and I've been able to achieve even at this age. The short topic I was given was youth empowerment through political journey in Ghana. So when it comes to political journey in Ghana, no one would feed you with spoon and cup unless you purge yourself and distinguish yourself as a youth leader. And clearly, you would have to take advantage of the opportunities within the leadership setup of the country to be able to build yourself to that level where great leaders would notice you and be able to project you to that pedestal. Youth empowerment is young people having the power and the tool to shape their own future. So having the tool, having the power to be able to shape your own future. And this is important for us for a couple of reasons. I'll pick just 4 of them. It will help you understand the process of nation building. So whenever a youth is brought on the table of decision making, it helps us know how it is done. And whilst we know how it is done, it helps us own the future, because we are part of the process of creating that future and developing our motherland. And it also helps us to take responsibility. And the ultimate for me is that it teaches you what we call troubleshooting. Whenever there is a problem, you would not throw your hands in despair, or you not give up. You would be able to stand and make sure that you solve each and every single problem, because you are part of the process in making sure we build the future that we all want. Here in Ghana, and upon examining our laws, I've noticed that all our affirmative laws are gender-based. There is no deliberate affirmative law that is youth-inclined, instead of, in terms of holding governments, in terms of quota for youth participation in leadership, among others. So it means that our laws have given youth leadership and youth participation in leadership at the discretion of the president and the leaders when elected. However, when it comes to the entrepreneurship aspect, skill development, definitely there is YA, there is NEIP to help with that aspect. But when it comes to leadership and participation of the youth, there is not much to be said about that. So the first thing and the first advocacy is that from here, VODEC, probably together with the leadership of the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, you can see how best we can be deliberate in making sure there are affirmative actions, in making sure clear quotas are defined for youth leadership in Ghana. Despite that, the NYA, that's the National Youth Authority, through the National Youth Policy 2010 and as revised in 2022, provide avenues for more like a mentorship platform at the basic level for youth parliaments, youth brigades, among others, to be able to mimic what is done at the leadership level. And we believe so much that governments, and for that matter, successive governments, will make sure the youth, NYA, that's the youth, National Youth Authority, is empowered to be able to decentralize more and do this effectively. Beyond all this, at the school level, there are opportunities in making sure that I see a lot of students here. You take advantage and also be able to participate the little you can at each level of your training. At the basic level, those of you who have kids at the basic level, let them run for head girl, head boy positions. It really helps and grooms them at that level. At the high school level, there is the SRC that represents students at that level, or youth at that level. At the universities, there are SRCs, there are JCLs, there are other unions that form under NUCs, i.e. USAG, GAPS, NACS, NASAG, GRASAG, and then ultimately across Africa, we have what we call the All African Students Union, ASU for that matter. The nurses here, you have one under GIMTA. The teachers here, you have one under TAG. These are all avenues for you to be able to groom your leadership potentials moving through the leadership ladder. The religious leadership And the religious bodies equally have youth groups and youth leadership at that level that help us and teach us and also groom us to be good leaders. I'm a proud member of the Church of Pentecost, and I've served as a youth leader before, so I really know practically what they imbibe in us as youth leaders. At the local government level, we have the unit committees. So don't say that you are a graduate, so you are beyond forming or being part of the unit committees. We have the aerial councils, we have assembly members, which you can still run and be part of the district assembly. Can also run for MPs, and when you are lucky and you have a leader who is youth focused, you will be able to have the opportunity of serving on cabinets, to serve as ministers, and also to serve in other key government opportunities. So I mentioned one, that government should make sure we make deliberate efforts in amending our laws and making sure we have quotas for youth participation in governance. The second is to help fund youth innovation and youth programs like this. So Win.Dr, I am making an advocacy for you that government should make it a deliberate effort through the Youth Development and Youth Empowerment Ministry to fund what you are doing, to be able to sustain what you have started.
Mr. Amakuhin, your time is up, sir.
Thank you. Just to conclude.
Right.
The youth, we are expected to serve ethically and with integrity whenever we are given the opportunity. And I also want to charge us to be able to support each other and build a network of youth leaders who are there for each other no matter the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Amoakohene is the Ashanti Regional Minister. Sir, please take your seats in the panel seats over there, and then we'll take the next. Please, here. Any of them is fine, the black seats. So we take our next speaker. But he said, you mentioned a couple of groups, and he said, you know, they should get in there. We'll see how easy for the youth to get into politics later. We'll talk about that later. We'll have Engineer Felix Aim. Engineer Felix Aim, are you here? Media, let's roll.
Felix K. Aim is the Chief Executive Officer of FEDEMS Group, a company he founded with siblings in 2014. He is a certified professional engineer by the Ghana Institution of Engineering and has close to 2 decades of expertise in project management and civil engineering. He leads FEDEMS in providing consultancy services to many reputable organizations, including the Jospon Group of Companies, Zoom Lion Ghana Limited, Ministry of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, HDL Farms, Glowford, Ghana Railway Development Authority, Local Government Service, the District Assemblies, and Pentecost University. Under his leadership and guidance, the FEDEMS Group currently operates 9 subsidiaries. FEDEMS was established to primarily create employment opportunities and provide training for young professionals, and he has no regrets. As a company aspiring to build a culture of high-performing personnel in consultancy and professional services, Felix intends to grow the business into a vibrant company capable of competing fiercely with international firms. Felix has had an outstanding professional career. He began as a geodetic engineer and topographical service specialist with associated consultants working on projects such as the Achimota Transport Terminal Extension, Millennium Development Authority, and the Volta Regional Road projects from 2008 to 2011. Additionally, he held the position of Estate and Development Manager for Pentecost University from 2012 to 2018. Furthermore, Felix.
Thank you very much. Were you talking about me? You scared me a bit. So, Nana Chairman, my big brother, Honorable Minister, my friend, and the big man, like the chairman of the Church of Pentecost will say, the big one, Honorable Ken Agyapong. I've been waiting to meet him, so it's a great opportunity to see him here. And then Apostles Checkboy and Kingsley Adai. I'm a member of the Church of Pentecost. I'm an elder. So as an elder, if you don't acknowledge your apostles, you can become a member from the elder. So I have to just the two of them, they are my very good friends and brothers. My brother Daniel and the beautiful wife. Thank you so much. All speakers, invited guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Minister has spoken, and so for me, I don't have much to say. Because when a minister talks, an ordinary engineer doesn't have to talk much. Otherwise, when I go for a job, he won't give me. So I have to play some politics here. Now, for me, I just want to say that this thing that Vodek is doing, it's great. If we can put our hands together for him, it's great. I met Daniel when he was in Pentecost University. Then I was the estate and development manager. And from the very first day, he was different. He didn't look like any ordinary student because his aspiration was top notch. And he kept coming to my office as the estate and development manager to ask me questions. And sometimes I felt, this guy, is he here to study or is he here to do other things? But God has been good, and this is how far he's come. So we want to say that God bless you and thank you for what you are doing. Now, for the youth, we are talking about empowering the youth. In the Church of Pentecost, we say youth ends at 35, right? So I'm past that age. But I'm looking at it when I was younger, that the youth, our problem has always been how we embrace the opportunities that come to us. And that is what I want to talk about. You see, the system gives us a lot of opportunities, but I think that the youth would have to go back, sometimes sit down, relax, and then think through what we want to do. Because we are youth, and we can never be wiser than those who are ahead of us. For Africa, there's a lot that we can achieve as youth. But I say that our problem has always been that just because we get to know new things, we think that we are probably wiser than those who are ahead of us. And that is why you don't see a lot of youth doing so well. If you look at Daniel's strategy, God has given him wisdom to do a lot of things, but he still consults the people who have gone through the cycle, people who have gone ahead of him, to pick up things from him, from them. And that is how you develop as youth. From my experience, I've realized that most of us get opportunities, but we either abuse it or we don't make the best out of it. For example, Honorable Ken Agyapong and Minister and other people, Nana here will tell you that they have tried to help so many youth, but at the end of the day, these guys disappoint. Why? Some of us, when we get small money, we think that we have reached that level. And in fact, I'm using small because riches is relative. So maybe you get 100,000, you sign a check of 100,000, 1 million, 2 million, and you think that you have arrived. Once that pride starts setting in, you lose it. So what I want to say to the youth is that the opportunities are there, but it's about how we manage the opportunities. I spoke about cultural intelligence the other time, and I think this is a bigger forum that I want to just use 2 minutes to talk about. I've always said that wherever you go, wherever you find yourself, there's a culture and a way of behavior of the persons that you relate with. And it's important that whenever you are given an opportunity, you learn the cultures. Nana here is my very good friend. We meet, we talk, we laugh, we eat together. We sit in the same car. We go to so many places. But when I see him as Nana, I have to give him that respect as Nana. I cannot say that because I'm that close to him, I relate to him anyhow in public. That is the problem of the youth today. I am part of you, so I'm mentioning it. That's our problem. For example, today I'm here, I'm sitting with all these big men. I'm sitting with Honorable Ken. If he becomes president, and I'm going to see him at the Flagstaff House. If he becomes president, and I go to see him at the Flagstaff House, and he tells me to wait, I cannot get angry because I've met him before and say that, why is he telling me to wait? No, it is protocol, and that is the culture. But most of us don't understand that. We think that once we have a relationship with someone, we can just treat them anyhow. I get a lot of messages, I get a lot of calls, I get a lot of texts, and people want to meet you. But when you read the tone of what they have sent, you feel like you don't want to meet them. There are others that when they send you a message or they meet you and talk to you, you feel within yourself that you want to help them, even when you cannot do it. So what I want to encourage all of us is that as youth, the opportunities are there. Master the intelligence of the cultural environment and use it. If you are visiting a minister, visit him as a minister. If you are visiting an elderly, talk to him as an elderly person. If you are dealing with your equals, find a way to relate to them so that when the opportunity comes, you'll be able to use it. I am of the view that Ghana has a lot to give. And we as youth have a lot to take. But the gap is that we are not thinking in our context. Let us not overthink. Don't overthink. It is good to think outside the box. But when it comes to culture, look into the box and see what you can do within the box to make the culture better. So it is very important that from today, all the opportunities that come to us, let us harness it and look at how we make it better. I want to thank you all for listening. I don't know if I've made sense, but I think I've said something. So, as an elder of the Church of Pentecost, I'll say, God bless you all. Amen.
God bless you too. Cultural intelligence, very profound. Thank you. So we are building up to the panel discussion. Very soon we'll be delving into all the nuggets they've prepared to share with us. Who's our next speaker? Media, please help us.
Richard Kwate is a doctorand, a management consultant, a corporate trainer, and currently a lecturer of leadership and management at the MBA level at the School of Business and Law, Regent College London, RCL. He has 2 decades of industry experience in Ghana and in the UK, predominantly in banking and higher education practice. He was the CEO of the Eswell All-Time Finance Ghana Limited, a former deputy managing director of First Trust Limited, and an ex-chief business officer of the Beige Bank Limited. He steered the change management process from Amalgamated Bank Limited to Bank of Africa Limited as the head of human resources. Richard is a governing council member and a visiting lecturer at the University of Gold Coast. He obtained his MA Communication Studies and MBA Education from Leeds University in the UK and Australian Institute of Business, with a Global Executive Management Training Certificate from the Harvard Business School, Boston, Massachusetts, USA. Richard studied for his postgraduate diploma in marketing from CIM UK and postgraduate diploma in business administration from KNUST in Ghana. Richard has over a decade of boardroom and executive experience. He is the author of 2 self-leadership books, Your Journey to the Top and Are You a Good Leader? He is the principal trainer and a director of New Africa Leadership Institute, NALI, where he focuses on mentoring the next corporate executives. Richard Kwate Nahinkwa.
Hello. Thank you very much, Nana Chair. Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, I'm so happy meeting you again. Regional Minister, distinguished speakers and dignitaries, I think we almost forgot the landlord as well. We are happy meeting all of you, ladies and gentlemen. There's one thing I want to do, with your permission. I always believe that a nation that fails to honor men and women that sacrifice for that nation makes us people who don't want to maybe sacrifice for that nation as well. So today, there's a reason it's a holiday. I think so. So if we can be upstanding for the men and women who have done great for this country with Kwame Nkrumah in person, we have to remember today. Just a minute, please. Just let's do that. If you take that out of my minute, I'll be very happy. That's fine. Thank you. Thank you so much. May the souls of the men and women who had actually labored for this country be remembered. Thank you. So today I'm here for this session, and I think before I also proceed, we can put our hands together for the organizers of this show. Daniel Asumeni in question. Well done. Well done. It takes a lot to bring the youth from the length and breadth of this country to come in here with great persons here to also provide mentorship. For me, I was given the topic that is the main topic, and it is on the National Youth Leadership Conference on, is there enough youth empowerment? I cannot be quick to say yes or no, but I think that there's always room for improvement. That is what I can say. To start with, we have about 1.2 billion youth across the globe. 1.2 billion. And out of the 1.2 billion, the youth forms about 18%. And Africa alone contributes about 42%. Yes. And it is projected to hit 75% by 2030. That is, if we extend the youth from 15 to 24, then to 35. Then we're hitting about 75%. In Ghana, with a population of about 34 million, the youth contributes about 40%. Here, I'm talking about 15 to 24 years. And during the last census, within the youth 15 to 24 years, we have 50 males, 50% males, 50% females. So basically, it tells us that as a country, we have enormous human resource talent that we can tap into. I think we are quick to focus on the natural resources. But if you go to countries like in the UK, in the West, the focus is on the human resources. And I think this is where we need to look at as a country. Now, there are three phases of life, work, and career when it comes to, life itself. Between 0 to 25 is the learning phase. Between 25 to 45 is the earning phase. So you learn to earn. Then after 65, basically the burning phase. Obviously, then we head to retirement. Now, the most crucial ages is between 18 years all the way to 24. Reason being, that is where the youth try to discover themselves. That is where mentoring becomes very, very important. If we don't do that and we allow the youth to find their way, they hit a Waterloo. So obviously what happens is that they are always afraid of the future instead of being excited about the future. So how can we, I believe that as a country, come in and as a people to support the youth to be more excited about the future, not being afraid of the future? And I think this is where the question comes in again. Is there enough youth empowerment? I think that we can do things differently. How do we do things differently? We need to look at reinventing government platforms, right? I did my national service 2 times. We belong to the old school. So you finish your A level, you do one national service. Then when you finish, university, you do another one. Of course, I did the first one. Second one, I was halfway through it. And then I went to study anyway. I came back again. But what do I say? I come back to see the same process and the same structure of the national service. We are using those years, about 20 years, platforms to solve, let me say 1998 for my first one, 1998 structure to fix 2025 issues. How can that be possible? We need to reinvent the way we do things. I personally believe that national service should be a certain platform to allow the youth to come up with their initiative. Somewhere about 7 years ago, I wanted to have a certain conversation with National Service Scheme about how do we prepare the youth before they take off to national service, and how do we even invite them after national service into the world. It's a two-way street. If we don't do the first one well, we will not achieve the second one. How do you do the first one? For example, people are going to be transferred to Atebubu, Sheshe, Jabrase, Northern region. They need to know. They should have cultural intelligence. Beyond that cultural intelligence, they should know what are the opportunities out there. So when they go, they are not looking at themselves as just going to serve, but they are going to be entrepreneurial to the opportunities that are there. We need to reinvent, I think, government platforms. We need to focus more into, if you like, digital tools, because that is the future. That is the way to go. We can talk about ethical leadership. We can talk about, integrity, all of that. Beyond that, digital leadership is changing the world now. And I remember I was lucky to be part of a program 8 years ago at Harvard Business School. And then Kaplan, our good old Kaplan, said this. He said, if you think, at that time we were doing a course on how to manage millennials. And he said, guys, if you think managing millennials is difficult, let's wait for the next generation. So as a corporate trainer, I do a lot of training on how to manage Gen Zs. Now, in some 10 years to come, Gen Alpha is on the way. Now, the question is, how do we communicate to Gen Zs? We need to learn. I have personally come to understand that when you're talking to a Gen Z and you don't have a very good information about technology in the middle of the conversation, you've lost it. There should be something technology in the middle. There should be something social media in the middle. The question is, how are we going to engage them, and how do we engage them rightly? And the final thing is that we need to learn to listen to them. And I always say that listening is in three phases. Sometimes we listen well, but we don't listen to the end. If you want to talk to the new generation, listen to the end. And if you are able to achieve this, I think that this forum will answer some of the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Richard. And we'll be exploring into more details when we get to the panel session. Media will help us with our next speaker and panelists, please.
Daniel Matlon is a social impact investor, media producer, and visionary entrepreneur whose work bridges innovation, finance, and social transformation. He is the founder of the global socio-economic campaign, #IsThereEnough, a movement advancing conversations on financial inclusions and sustainability. The initiative has attracted the attention of policymakers, educators, and private sector leaders across Europe, Africa, the Americas, and Latin America, promoting the idea that future economies can be modeled more on human resources than natural ones. As the co-founder of Impact Launchpad, a social impact investment banking and advisory firm, Daniel is pioneering a risk-adjusted model for sustainable finance. This framework is designed to mobilize greater pools of investment capital, accelerating progress towards United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Through this model, Impact Launchpad aims to establish 100 global centers for non-profit impact investment to empower more than 50,000 projects worldwide over the next 15 years, working in close partnership with government and private interests alike. Daniel's entrepreneur journey also spans media and technology. As the co-founder of iDiscovery TV.
Hello. Such an honor to be here with all of you distinguished speakers, ministers, social impact players, civil society. Mr. Kennedy, your reputation precedes you. Your Highness, it was wonderful to have an opportunity to sit with you. This room here is filled with the future of this country, and not just this country, but all of the continent. Give yourselves a hand here. I'm going to ask that the first slide show there, and we've never worked together, me and the people in the back there, so we'll see how our slides go. I was recently introduced by somebody I greatly respect to a group of distinguished leaders who called me Mr. Possibility. I like to think of myself as Mr. Realization. And can I have my first slide up there for a moment, please? Am I going without slides? I will have to do it from memory. So my friends at Group Partners, who are very distinguished consultants and strategists to the UN and major corporations, they told me that they spend sometimes 2 to 3 months before they come into a program or a project that's usually stuck. Has anybody ever felt stuck in this room? Raise your hand if you ever felt stuck. Right? Well, you know what they would say is, when you're asking the wrong question, you're solving the wrong problem. Right? I could leave the stage right now with just that little nugget, and I promise you, if you begin to ask, every time that I'm in any kind of struggle, I'm usually clearer on what I do not want than what I do, and I'm usually asking the wrong question. So the right question we're asking here is there enough youth empowerment? Now, we ask the question, is there enough, in a very general way, because there is no yes or no answer to that question. It's conditional, it's situational. Asking, is there enough clean water, is not the same in this country as it is in mine, right? And the technology that can empower us to be able to do that does not come into being without us connecting with each other. Because what I am very interested in, since this is an economic forum and a leadership forum, is do we really know what economics is in the modern world with respect to the economists in the room? I would argue that we don't. In fact, if I asked you this question, is there a fixed amount of money in the world? Can anybody answer that question? Because I've asked that question all over the world and nobody can. Because money is not a thing. What's really a thing is building wealth. And wealth and money are not the same thing. Wealth, as my mentor Buckminster Fuller said, is our ability to achieve a standard of living and sustain it over time. Wealth is survival over time, right? There are certain individuals in this room who have maybe hundreds of years of wealth, and maybe some others in the room that have only a few hours or a few days of existing wealth. So my question to you is, if that's what wealth is, how do we produce more? And you only have to look at my relationship with Daniel, which would be on a slide if I had my slides working. And you would see our picture together and you would understand what wealth is. Here's a young man who had an idea in his mind when he was only in his early 20s. He had a vision of all of you being here in this room, and look exactly what has taken place. How did that happen? How do those of us with an idea make something happen and those of us with ideas struggle? What Daniel understood is that agreement is what builds wealth. If I want to build my standard of living higher than it is today, it isn't money per se, it is agreement that builds that. And so if we ask, is there enough youth empowerment, do we not have to ask what power is? What is power? Is power only the people in power? I don't think so. I am deliberately simple. So all of you who want to take issue with my definition of power, I'm sure there are other ways to define power. But I would argue that power is the ability to get things done. Very simple. If that's a true statement, how in fact is power increased? Not just wealth, it's increased by agreement also. In fact, if you look at all of the world as a whole, is there enough? As a whole. Is there enough water on this planet? We throw away 40% of all the food on this planet we make every day. Is there enough food on the planet? Where our not enoughs are, where our scarcities are, is local and special and individual and exceptional. It looks completely opposite. It looks like wealth is a prize for only a few of us. This is not true. We live in 2025. I'm going to argue every one of you in this room with a good idea has more power, the ability to get things done, than the 1% of 20 years ago had. Do you understand this? Here in 2025, you have more power than the 1% of 20 years ago. Would anybody have not enjoyed the standard of living of a 1% 20 years ago? This is the moment that you sit in.
Right.
Now, I'm sorry. I'm off my slides. I must make this point.
We'd like to wrap up and
yes, I understand. If your wealth and your power is increased by your ability to make agreement, the most important agreement that you can ever make is the agreement with yourself. Who am I? Your identity is your real agreement. And without that, you cannot make agreement with anyone else. So I'm going to invite you to consider identity in a very simple way also. Say it with me. I am my history. I am my choices. You are two people. I am my history and I am my choices. Ghana is its history and Ghana is its choices. Humanity is its history and humanity is its choices. This is your responsibility, your opportunity, as the gentleman said. That's what comes with power. We always hear responsibility. I'm going to suggest to you your opportunity is to make choices, right? If Daniel and I had not made the choice to consider our sameness with each other rather than our obvious difference, I would not only not be in this room, I would not be able to bring all the resources and investment that we hope to build together right here in Ghana. Every one of you who walks out of this room with at least one new relationship could lead to something just like Daniel and I being here and me being in your august company. So make sure you're not only listening to the speakers, but you're making contacts with at least one person you did not know before.
Fantastic.
That may be the source of your power.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Daniel Matalon. Thought-provoking indeed. So media will let us know who our next speaker is, please.
Minka is President and CEO of the Center for Economic Research and Policy Analysis, CEPA, Africa's leading economic policy institute focused on driving the continent's economic growth and sustainable development through research and policy analysis. He's a highly regarded economist and entrepreneur and brings to bear a formidable blend of strategic foresight, analytical depth, transformative development, and a passion for institutionalizing practical economic policies. He's a thought leader and columnist for a leading online publication of the Business and Financial Times, leading discourse in key economic subject matters. His distinguished body of work spans financial systems research, economic policy ideation and formulation, and enterprise innovation, positioning him as a thought leader within Ghana's economic and organizational development landscape. With a rich background in financial and monetary economics, Mr. Amoakohene has contributed significantly to policy analysis, including the flagship Gold for Oil policy. As the founder and group head of ACAM Group, a Ghanaian conglomerate with subsidiaries spanning financial and investment advisory, organizational learning and development.
Thank you very much. I am flattered with the accolades. I want to stay humble. Nana Chair, and the biggest brother to us all, thank you. And all honorable members in the House, I say thank you for this opportunity. Honorable Ken, permit me to give a showdown. Permit me. And also to be sure that this showdown will lead to some possibilities. If not, we will reset. So once Honorable Ken has given me the opportunity, then I'm sure Honorable Oponkroma says I can make it possible. So I am doing that. Thank you very much. So some few years ago, over 20 years ago, I met a young man. And this young man had just left the university. And right after the university, traveled to the United States to look for a job. You know how we go out of the country and we decide to look for jobs at McDonald's and Burger King and all the likes to be able to keep hope alive. Few years down the line, this young man decided to come back to Ghana and start his national service. He is placed in a very little corner at the Ministry of Manpower. How many of you remember Ministry of Manpower? And that corner he was sitting was the corner where the security man used to sit. Why was he there? He was there because the security man told him that there was no place or there was no seat for the national service personnel. So this young man decided that, okay, no problem. If there is no seat, then I'll have to find myself something to do. And this young man decided to find internship and do national service at the same time. So while this young man was doing internship and national service at the same time, he was offered an opportunity to become a research officer in the organization. When this young man started the research officer position, he spotted an opportunity. And that opportunity was that in that organization, they were supposed to be running training programs. And that training programs had not been happening for some years. So this young man decided that, wait, I wanted to become an economist. Nevertheless, I have spotted an opportunity in the organization that I am currently in, which says that there is no training happening within the training department. This young man decides that, okay, I will take this training department and then visit all the HRs in the banks and start creating that training that I would love to see. Fast forward 4 months down the line, this young man comes out with his first training program. And that training department now becomes the cash cow of the entire organization after 2 years. Then this young man, after creating value, is poached into another bank at the age of 28. 28 years. What is he going to do? He's going to head a department. And at 30, to not only head a department, but become an executive member of the department. That young man spotted an opportunity outside what he had planned to do. Few years down the line, this young man built himself very well through personal development, and now ensured that that corporate that he wanted to be in as an economist, this time he will create that same corporate by himself. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how SEPA started. And I am that young man. So I came to encourage you that as young as you are, yes, whether NDC, whether MPP, they might not have gotten it right yet. But one thing is assured, spot the little opportunity when you can. Because if you are waiting for that perfect opportunity, then you have no opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ebeneza Minta. Okay. He has made us aware the possibility of giving poverty a showdown. All right. I liked it. Right. We'll find out who our next speaker is as well. Media will assist us. Thank you.
Naki Sitiaka Oasis Ibrahim, affectionately known as Sitiaka, is the reigning Ghana's most beautiful 2024 queen. Representing the Savannah region, she made history as the first hijab-wearing contestant to win the prestigious crown, marking a remarkable milestone for inclusivity and representation in Ghana's cultural space. Currently a law student at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, UPSA, Sitiaka embodies determination, intelligence, and grace. Despite almost missing her audition due to academic exams, her perseverance and faith carried her through an unforgettable victory. Her crowning moment on October 6, 2024 at the National Theatre not only brought pride to Savannah region, but also inspired many young women to boldly pursue their dreams. Sitiaka has been a passionate advocate for youth empowerment, climate action, and education. Through initiatives such as Sweet Smiles projects, she has championed tree planting, recycling, literacy development, and mentorship in schools and orphanages. She continues to use her platform to raise awareness on sustainability, climate resilience, and social impact, positioning herself as a young leader with a vision for better Ghana. Sitiaka is more than a beauty queen. She is a trailblazer, role model, and voice of change. Her journey reflects resilience, purpose, and transformative power of believing in one's dream.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, the chair, distinguished guests and personalities present, fellow young leaders, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this great initiative, Win.Dr. Africa, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to stand before you this afternoon to share my views on the topic Empowering Youth-Led Climate Resilience Initiatives. You know, to better understand the topic before us or the challenge before us, we must first of all break down the key words in the topic. First of all, what is climate change? You know, you don't fight against something that you don't know, right? Yes. So climate change is the long-term shifts or change in weather patterns over a period of time as a result of human activities like deforestation, like emission of greenhouse gases, amongst others. I know a lot of people think that climate change is something that is abstract, but I'm here to let you know that climate change is one of the biggest threats affecting our generation today, and it's no longer abstract. It is something that we are experiencing today, and something must be done about it. There are a lot of effects of climate change. For instance, unpredictable rainfall patterns. I know initially in the past, we could predict that maybe at the beginning of the year from June, July, there will be heavy rains and all that. And you know, in Ghana, most of our farmers rely heavily on rainfall in order to plant their crops. But here is the case, we can no longer predict the rainfall patterns. And this leads to food insecurity. You go to the market and you realize that the prices of food become very expensive and you don't understand. It's because of climate change. And this is something that we as youth can work on to ensure that climate change becomes a thing of the past. And how do we do this? Through climate resilience. Climate resilience is the ability to foresee, predict, come up with initiatives that will help us adapt and recover from climate shocks. You know, in Ghana, about 57% of our population is made up of the youth. And 10 to 15 years away from now, we are those that will feel the effects of climate change the most. To know how important or urgent climate change is, it is even evident in the 1992 Constitution. Under Article 41K, which states that it is the responsibility and duty of every citizen of Ghana to make sure that we protect and safeguard our environment, not just for ourselves, but also for the future generation. And climate change does not just present challenges, but it also comes with opportunities that we, the youth, can take and make sure that we help solve the issue of climate change whilst we empower ourselves as well. And this is through building climate resilient initiatives. For instance, an act as simple as tree planting can help save the environment. An act as simple as not burning your waste and proper disposal of waste can help save the environment. An act as simple as recycling and upcycling initiatives. For instance, under my organization, which is Eco Green Oasis Legacy, we organize workshops where we train young women, the youth, and persons with disability on how to recycle waste, turn waste to wealth. For instance, you see a used car tie or a car tie that is worn out, but we see a means to make money out of it and also protect the environment at the same time. We can change used car ties into sofas, into chairs. So you don't just protect the environment through this, but you are also creating a means for you to also make money and help. It's even a means of employment. And through this, if we empower a lot of youth to take part in initiatives like this, it can even go as far as reducing the unemployment rate in the society. Now, how do we empower youth climate-led initiatives? by creating capacity building programs like this, by educating the youth, because before you solve a problem, you must know the root cause of the problem and come up with innovative ways in order to solve that problem. So thank you, Win.Dr. Africa, for giving us this platform to let more youth know about climate change and how they can take part in solving this issue. Another way of empowering youth-led climate resilience initiatives is through policy inclusion. Let's include our youth in the policies that we make, in decision-making processes that involve climate change, because we have very innovative youth in our society that can come up with innovative solutions to climate change. Another one is access to resources. We have a lot of youth that have passion for protecting our environments. They have wonderful ideas, but they do not have enough resources to scale up their initiatives. So we should give the youth access to resources, to funding, to help scale up our initiatives. And another one is partnerships. You cannot do this alone. And we cannot solve climate change alone. We must do this together as a community. So through building partnerships with international organizations, with government agencies, amongst others, we can make this dream a reality. I want to say thank you once again for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And together we can make a difference. So please, whatever you listen to or you hear in this auditorium today, don't just sleep over it or let it pass through one ear and go out. But make sure you take steps in order to actualize whatever you hear today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Queen. Thank you very much. So we've got into an important session, and most of you didn't see my fall. Huh? It was an epic fall. A round of applause for Akohene. Right. So at this session, the topic is crucial, and we are here to talk about the youth, tools to empower them. I will start with you. You talked about climate change. It's a fancy word, climate change. So we do summits, and then we have programs like that. We go to the UN for climate change discussions. How are we making climate change attractive for the young person? You are young, you've done it. So how do we make it very attractive for young people to partner?
Thank you, and I think it's a very important question. And as a young person, I felt the same way too, especially when I was here in UPSA. I saw a lot of programs on climate change, and I was asking myself, what at all is this climate change? Because mostly when people are talking about climate change, they use a lot of big terms that we don't understand, and sometimes people see the topic to be boring. So I decided to take steps to do research and get to understand what climate change is. And even I was the SRC Women's Commissioner for UPSA. So when I did my research and realized how important climate change is to us and to the society, I decided to take steps to make climate change very easy for the young people to understand. So during my stay here in UPSA as the SRC Women's Commissioner, I organized the Face of UPSA, which is a beauty pageant, and it deals with education, entertainment, and empowering young ladies. So I decided to inculcate the topic of climate change into it, which had to do with the main topic or theme for that beauty pageant last year was based on climate change.
So for young persons who aren't interested in pageants, again, how do we attract them?
Okay, so with that particular initiative, there were a lot of young people that came here to watch, and even though they were not part of the contestants, but through the entertainment, they were able to learn about climate change subconsciously. You get it? So it's not, so we should make climate change, the topic of climate change, very attractive. And even in my work, I go to schools, and instead of just talking about climate change, we make it very practical so that they get to understand the need for climate action and take steps towards that.
Thank you very much. This is the VODEC Africa NILA 2025 panel discussion. On the panel, I have Honorable Dr. Frank Amoakohene, is Ashanti Regional Minister. Round of applause for him. Engineer Felix Aim is here. Mr. Richard Ahimpa is here. Queen Nihat Tiaka is here. Mr. Daniel Metalon is here. And Ebeneza Minka is also here. Mr. Minister, let's talk about politics and young people. You were talking about, several interventions that young people could get in there. Now it's looking as if you're not already a politician, as a young person, it's quite difficult for you to get in there. How are we making politics right now in Ghana attractive and easy for young persons who want to also make impact, join or enter in there?
Thank you very much. So it's a myth. You don't necessarily need to be born by a politician or have a huge person in politics to be able to have the opportunity. Otherwise, the name Amoakohene doesn't really ring a bell with any of the big six or any of the former presidents or the names you can hear in the circles of Ghana's politics. They are born leaders and they are made leaders. So at any point in time, you can decide to join the cause of leadership. When I was in SHS, I was very quiet and reserved. I joined leadership at level 200 at the university. And since then, I've been very active for almost a decade and a half. So it's all about you as an individual and what you want to do and at what point you want to enter. And when you get that opportunity or you decide to enter, it is up to you to find people who you think you are in love with their ideologies. Get closer to them. Get to ask questions, and then you'll be able to define your path well and be able to navigate your way through the complexities. So yes, you can start at any point in time. Approach anyone you think that the person's style of leadership is one that attracts you, and I'm sure you'll have that opportunity of doing so. For us, who are already in the game or who are in the game now, what I think we need to do is to be very accessible to the young ones, so that they don't really struggle navigating their ways from offices to offices, to be able to assess us and be able to also tap from our ideologies and the things we have gone through. Once we're able to make ourselves available to the young ones and the up and coming, I'm sure that it should attract them and they should be able to. I'm sure young persons
here will have different questions to ask on that. If we can get a microphone to Honorable Agyapong, I would like to take his note. Can we make a microphone available for Honorable Kennedy Agyapong? I would like to hear his thoughts on this. Do you agree with the minister that politics is attractive to the young persons now, sir?
Good question. Honestly, currently, the way we do politics in this country, I don't think is attractive to the young ones. Because Ghanaians now believe that politicians, most of us, we don't speak the truth. And
a round of applause for him.
So even if the youth wants to go into politics, their parents tend to advise them to stay away from politics. Because the moment you start doing politics, that is when the day you were born will be told by your opponent and give all sort of information, misinformation about it. So I personally, with my experience, I don't think politics is attractive, and I will never advise any of my children to go into politics.
Right. So the second part, I give the microphone back to him. Honorable Agyapong, the second part of my question is this. If you are not willing to advise your children to be politicians, young persons, there are over 5,000 gathered here right now. How do we make politics attractive? Now, the caveat here, sir, is you go into politics to make money rather than, causing change in the economy. What do we do?
Individual choice. You can decide to go into politics. But anybody who comes to me to take advice from me, I always discourage them. And when they go into it.
But you are there.
Yeah. So, first, when I was going into it, the advice given to